was only one visual artist there. Why Peter?
Because there only had to be one. We've just heard all this evening, there's only one go-to guy who understands the entire panoply of rock and roll. And when I was a kid, I saw his self-portrait with the Elvis badges and the denims and shit, and I thought, fuck, he's good. So I called him up and I tried to explain who it was, and this sort of benign voice at the other end said, I know who you are, Bob. And I explained what we were doing, and he came up with the perfect thing. It's a corny song about our world and another world. And he came to the studio and he sat there sketching, and he gave me a wonderful drawing of Paul Young. He's a brilliant draftsman. We know what an artist he is, but such a great draftsman with the pencil. And it was perfect, and it's in its own way, it's as iconic as any of the other things we've seen. So when Live Aid came around, it had to be Peter, of course. He was now in the gang, and he came up again with almost, you know, there's no brief. Pete, can you do this? This is what it's about, you know, it's a global jukebox. Can we just keep the little child there somewhere in it? He did that. 20 years later, Paul and Bono and U2 did. It was 20 years ago today, and we were doing Live 8. And we needed the G8 who were meeting in Britain to do something they really didn't want to do. And I went back to Peter, and he said, yeah, do something. And I said, can we have something with them in it, but refer to 20 years ago, Live Aid? And he said, okay. And it came around, and it was the G8 leaders sitting at a table with this sort of weird open collage, but with tickets for Live Aid and all that stuff on it. And I didn't want to ask, but I did. I rang him and I said, could you just do, he's brilliant at working with you, you know, like he is, but it's more than that, because he's in charge of his art, but he listened to you, but he objects at the same time. So what I wanted, I was so mortified to ask, but by this time I was too tired to bother about fucking people saying no, you know. So I said, can you put the G8 leaders into Sergeant Pepper's outfits? And he went, I don't really want to, Bob, you know. And I said, please, Pete. And he said, no, I really don't want to. I'm a bit sick of the whole bloody thing. And
I persuasive man.
When I said there's a reason, he said, what? And I said, these 8 people are more vain than any rock star. And we know that Blair was a Beatles fan. We know that Putin was a Beatles fan. And at the time, the Prime Minister of Japan was a Beatles fan. I didn't know about the rest, but I was pretty sure that George Bush had never fucking heard of the Beatles. But nonetheless, Pete said, I said, Pete, please, because it'll just be one more thing. Their vanity would be touched. So we were all in Glen Eagles, and the leaders were all there, and I just left a bunch of Peter's art for the Live Aid poster on a table. They all took one, and they all got each other to sign it, and the deal got done. But part of it definitely was what that guy did.
What a role that Peter Blake has played. Bob Geldof, thanks so much indeed for being here tonight, for sharing that story. We have got one last act on this stage. They're ready, they're waiting, all the way from Camden Town. Please welcome